Here at Bernini Jewelry, we are lucky to be an authorized retailer for over 20 brands. However, we also have a massive selection of pre-owned inventory. As one of the buyers here, it's something that I take a huge amount of pride in, but do a terrible job of showcasing the amazing watches that we bring in on a week-to-week basis. So today I wanted to show you 5 watches that we took in stock that I absolutely love and talk a little bit more about them. So let's get right into it. So as a buyer here at Bernini Jewelry, I can tell you that probably the trickiest part is actually keeping things in stock. To give you guys kind of a quick market update, I mean, we've been performing exceptionally well. One of the hardest things that I have in terms of responsibility is keeping our pre-owned inventory and our pre-owned selection stocked with pieces that are obviously really good sellers for us, but also at the right price point. I say all the time that actually selling a watch in theory is not that difficult if you're able to buy it at the right price. There's technically, a buyer for pretty much any watch out there so long as it's bought at the right price. And so that's definitely probably the hardest part of the equation when it comes to my responsibilities. But here in front of us, we have 5 amazing watches, all of which came within a week. One of them we've had for about a month or so, but I just absolutely love the watch and wanted to feature it on the video today. Let's start first with one of my favorite Patek Philippe references, the modern Patek Philippe references at least. And this is a discontinued version of the reference 5320G. This is a perpetual calendar from Patek Philippe in this kind of pilot style with the syringe hands, of course, the incredible numbers on the actual dial, which makes it highly, highly legible. Perpetual calendar function with the moon phase. This has the 324 base movement. And the running seconds in the middle, I think, is a great added touch. Now, this has the cream dial as opposed to the newer version, which is in current production from Patek Philippe with the salmon dial. Personally, I've handled both. I like the cream dial a lot more. I think this is a beautiful timepiece, something that you can dress up, dress down. On this brown strap, it's actually quite dressy. If you want to put it kind of on a blue strap or like a blue jean strap, I think that really casualizes the look of this and makes it a lot more wearable with something a lot less formal. I think overall they hit a home run with this watch, in particular because of the case. I think this is one of Patek Philippe's nicest cases that they make with the triple step lugs, the double step case. It's just absolutely beautiful, highly legible, totally kind of new when this was released from Patek Philippe in that it's a perpetual calendar, but so untraditionally kind of designed. And I think this was kind of the onset of Patek Philippe's kind of more modern design language, right? You look at their modern timepieces, one that comes to mind is the 5212, for example, that really is unlike the kind of traditional classical kind of stuffy watches maybe people think Patek Philippe watches have, but this is really a modern take on a perpetual calendar, and I think executed to an extremely, extremely high level. And the price on this, I want to say, is right around $57,000. This is a full set example with, of course, the white gold case back. An absolutely beautiful watch, and I mean, the current retail I know is well over $100,000 now. So you're basically getting half off retail for this timepiece with the cream dial, which I actually prefer to the salmon. So, it's one that I absolutely love, and I don't expect this to last very long in our inventory. Speaking of not lasting long, this is an MB&F HM3 Mega Wine. This is actually a watch that I purchased from a customer who I originally sold this to and ended up buying it back, and now it is sold and going out today actually. So I wanted to get a shot of this watch before it actually goes out to the new home. I hope you enjoy it. You know who you are if you're watching this video. So what's cool about this watch, this is known kind of as the frog, right? You'll see kind of the frog eyes. And the way to tell the time is the 2 discs right over here. So you'll see the hours over here and the minutes over here. So these kind of 2 discs will essentially tell the time on wrist, kind of like a driver's watch, right? Something that you have to actually tilt up to actually read the time. And I like to think of this as being kind of the original precursor, the inspiration to the matte editions from MB&F that have become so popular, having kind of that battle axe rotor that actually spins really, really well. This is a watch that was designed by Max Buser, of course, but the movement itself is made by master watchmaker Jean-Marc Wiedereck. I believe it's a Girard-Perregaux base movement that they actually completely redesigned from the top down to actually fit into this incredible case, which has over 50 components to it. This one is the white gold and titanium version that's PVD coated. I think it's an absolutely quirky watch, definitely out there. Won't be probably to 80% of you's taste, maybe even 99% of you guys' taste out there. But I think that's what makes this so unique. And I'm a big proponent of MB&F watches. Obviously, I tend to prefer the Legacy machine. I just think they're a little bit more wearable. But how can you not appreciate the incredible design language of the horological machines. I think that they represent something so unique to the watch industry because, of course, the timekeeping is exceptionally high level. However, I think also the design is something unlike anything you'll see from any other brand in the industry. And I think that's what has made kind of MB&F a cult classic and a huge admirer from many collectors out there in the industry just because of their willingness to take risks. Well, speaking of taking risks, you cannot say that this watch certainly wasn't a risk to produce almost 25 years ago now. It's going to be 25-year anniversary of the Ulysse Nardin Freak in 2026. It's crazy to think that this watch has been made since 2001. And this kind of rewrote the entire idea of what a wristwatch is. When you think of a wristwatch, of course, it has to have kind of three main components, at least in my mind, that this watch lacks, right? The first being, of course, a dial to actually physically, kind of read the time. Hands, of course, which this doesn't have very traditional hands. Certainly the Freak X, or the original Freak rather, did not have kind of the traditional handset. And last but certainly not least is a crown, right? The crown being kind of the main mechanism that you use to actually physically power the watch, whether it's a manual wind or an automatic watch. This is kind of the latest version. I believe this was released in 2024, so last year. It's the Freak S Nomad. It's a limited edition with this stunning guilloche base plate, a carbon and titanium case that is just beautifully executed. And this is actually the most complicated Freak ever made. So you'll see it has double balance wheel. So you may have been, of course, familiar with the FP Journe Resonance, super popular watch. This doesn't feature the kind of resonance properties. It has a vertical differential, which will essentially negate the two imbalances of timekeeping or beat error, both balance wheels essentially. So, let's say one balance is operating at -2 seconds a day and the other balance is operating at +2 seconds a day. Of course, those two balances will be negated with each other through the vertical differential, which essentially will allow for more accurate timekeeping. Now, that's a complication that a lot of brands have done nowadays. The first, I believe, to do it in a wristwatch was Philippe Dufour. Then MB&F actually did a legacy machine, the LM2, with two central balance wheels. I know Roger Dubuis has versions of this Grupo Forci, and Ulysse Nardin now kind of chiming in with this really unique complication that is a huge throwback to, of course, watchmaking history. But I think this is also super interesting just visually, right? When you go back to kind of MB&F and the magic of a legacy machine, why I love it so much is the visual appeal, right? Seeing those floating balance wheels on the dial, it's exceptional to kind of just see those little components. I think it's part of what makes kind of watchmaking magic with MB&F. And Ulysse Nardin, you've had this being done for over 25 years. It's hard not to kind of feel that same kind of magic that MB&F captures in their wristwatches with a Freak as well. This also has the grinder winding system, which shouldn't be lost on people. It's an extremely and supposedly the most efficient winding system actually in the entire watch industry. So a lot of tech here involved. Ulysse Nardin, one of the greatest watchmakers out there, certainly underrated. And I didn't even get into all the incredible kind of innovation this watch packed, right? The fact that it was a carousel tourbillon with actually the balance wheel on the dial side. The fact that this watch was the first to use silicone components, right? We talk about material innovation in cases from the likes of Richard Mille and AP, but how about in movements? Ulysse Nardin being the pioneers of silicone technology, which is now widely used by brands like Patek and others who are kind of the safeguards of traditional watchmaking, but they were really the first to do it, and I would say the biggest proponents. And 25 years of the Freak, I'm excited to see what next year's releases will be, but this is certainly an incredible release, and I think one of the absolute best Freaks ever made, and certainly worth your attention if you're in the market for a really unique watch that is amazingly designed and has a lot of history and pedigree to it. Well, speaking of history and pedigree, I did a video maybe last year, I want to say, about my top 5 most innovative watches of the last kind of 20, 25 years. And one of them that made the list is one of my all-time favorites, the A. Lange & Söhne Zeitwerk, just because this movement is unlike anything else. The digital time display, the remotoir that powers that system, of course, the finishing of the movement. I mean, I've waxed poetic about this watch on videos before. There's not much else I need to say about it that hasn't already been said out there that can be found or read or kind of heard about. This watch is just beautiful. Aesthetically, it's perfect. To me, the movement is just absolutely sublime. I personally like this version the best, the white gold with the black dial, even over the newer Zeitwerk date. The proportions are way better on this. The thickness is much more manageable on wrist. To me, if I was to get 3 Lange watches, it would be either a Datograph or 1815 chronograph. You'd have to get a Zeitwerk and you'd have to get a Lange one. Those are kind of the 3 pillars of A. Lange & Söhne. And to me, there's 3 of the best design watches, best contemporary watches. And without question, I think that the Zeitwerk has a very strong argument of being the best out of the 3 of those. So yeah, This is one of my favorites and certainly one that I always love having in stock. It's actually a watch that has started to appreciate in value. Over the last 6 months, it's become harder and harder to find these watches out there on the secondary market. It seems like collectors are buying them and just not reselling them as much. And so the supply out there is getting harder and harder to come by. Anytime I get offered one, I try to buy it as strong as possible because, again, it's something that sells very, very well for us. I don't expect this to stay in stock for very long. This is a naked example, meaning it has no box and papers. I believe we're asking right around $60,000 for it. But yeah, this is a beautiful timepiece. I think it would be a certain grail for anybody to add to their collection. Certainly would be an honor if I could have it in my collection someday, which I would love to do. And last but not least is probably my favorite version of a Rolex dated. It is the rose gold olive green dial. I just love this. I know it was done for, I believe, the 40th anniversary of the date. This particular version, the rose with the green, I think just works absolutely perfectly. You know, I know people are going crazy for the new ombre dials. This to me is without question a classic, right? The ombre dials, although they are absolutely beautiful, I just have a feeling like maybe over time you can kind of get fed up of seeing that ombre kind of effect. This here is so classic, so beautifully done, so beautifully executed. It's impossible to get tired of. This is a 2025 complete set, box and papers in like new condition. We're asking $53,000 for it. Again, another watch that has kind of appreciated in value. Gold Rolex specifically has really started rising in prices just because the new retail prices are so high and there's so much lack of supply out there for new kind of fresh 2025 models that ultimately, you know, they're starting to trade almost at a premium to the really high retail price where, you know, dates for the last 2 or 3 years, we're really trading significantly under their retail price. So yeah, these are 5 amazing watches, of course, that we brought in this week, other than the Freak S, which we've had for about a month or so now. But yeah, 5 amazing timepieces that I absolutely love that I don't expect to last very long. One of them already being sold, the MB&F, which is going out today. But of course, if you wanted to browse our selection of pre-owned watches, you can check it out over on our website, Burdines.com. If you're interested in any of these timepieces, you can reach out to us via our website, or you can always reach out to me directly on Instagram. My Instagram is watch.marco. It would be an absolute pleasure to help you. Guys, if you enjoyed this video or you enjoyed these style of videos, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Let me know down in the comments which was your favorite watch that I showcased here today. And of course, which watches or videos you'd like to see from me here on the Burdines Jewelry YouTube channel in the future. As always, my name is Marco for Burdines Jewelry. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching.